So the platform wars, this is all about how those sort of existing divisions and what technology could do to potentially accelerate that. So the clickbait picture is, you've got China and the US, you've got the Chinese tech companies there with the US companies, and if you want to have a read of the article, yes?
I'm technically both of those things because I am Chinese, but yet I have an American accent.
Oh, American accent. So you're like right down the middle. You'd be the perfect to consolidate and bring world peace to these two sort of competing wars, yeah? All right, we found the platform wars. If you want to have a read, if you've got your phone, just point at that QR code. You can have a read of the article, and maybe we can come to some solutions because we need the future generations to think about how we can get past this conflict, right? So, let's begin. All right. So I started with, okay, what are we currently experiencing that's sort of really, really annoying, right? Who has an iPhone here? Who uses iOS? Great. Who has an Android? Who has an Android?
I used to have an Android. I used to have a...
See, she is gonna solve this divide, right? She is literally being able to figure it out. Because which one do you prefer? Which one do you prefer? Oh, now she's creating divisions. All right, iOS 1 for you guys, okay?
And now I can notice today that if you click that thing that turns off the...
No, keep going. What do you say?
Any last questions?
What do you say? Oh, so anyway, so you're a bigger fan of iOS. Well, I use iOS as well, okay? So I'm with you. But whenever I see a message that comes in and it's not blue, those iMessages blue, I get kind of xenophobic about that. And I'm like, what, who's this message coming from? It's green, it comes a bit delayed, you can't share files really quickly because the images load a bit longer. And then when you're trying to transfer a file to an Android user, they don't have AirDrop. It's like, I just want to send you something. I'm sorry, I don't have AirDrop. Can you use social media? Is that what this is for? I was thinking this is for the pizzas.
I don't have my Peter remote controller today.
It was like cloud-based. So you don't have, you have to use like a file transfer app or a social media. Send it to me on WhatsApp. And you get the picture on WhatsApp and it's all pixelated when you're trying to zoom in, right? And then you gotta, send me something, use Google Drive or OneDrive or something like that. Well, it doesn't, you gotta make sure you installed it, make sure you have an account. Oh, sorry, it's a video, it's too big, I can't load more than 1 gigabyte onto my file storage, so tough luck. So. And the next thing, you're gonna install third-party apps, suddenly you're using Snapchat and you're playing face swap. It's like, what the hell were we doing in the first place again, trying to transfer a file? So it's just really difficult just to interact because Apple is such a closed ecosystem. So iOS, it's a walled garden. In my previous talk, I talked about the iPhone 20 and how that product, future products of Apple will evolve, and that closed garden is potentially going to cause issues for all the iOS users. So these are all the sort of different social medias. Rest in peace Google+. For all those people that didn't back up their photos, better hurry up before April. And rest in peace Meerkat as well. But so just think about all the things that are dividing us today. These social media, these different platforms. Just then we were talking about how to stream this video. We're like, oh, it's on YouTube, oh no, it's on Facebook, what's going on? There are so many things. And when it comes to hardware, right, so, I was just in a meeting earlier today and it was pretty last minute. They told me to just arrive at the client office and I just came with my laptop. And I was just so hoping that they had an HDMI adapter for my particular laptop. Because what the hell do they have? Do they have one of these? The white's not coming very well, but that's all Apple, so they're all like a mystery, invisible lightning cable thing going on. And then afterwards I was trying to buy a present, for one of my family friends. I was like, okay, what do I get? Do I buy a Amazon Alexa, or do I buy a Google Home? Do I buy an Apple Home? What do I buy? No. So I got because they're also an iOS user, I bought the Apple Home for them. And I was like, well, here you go. And they said to me, well, I don't want this. Well, it doesn't interact with anything else. It's not interoperable. It's not compatible with even Spotify. What is going on, right? Hey, how you going, Ollie? So, this brings to sort of the larger picture. So in my everyday work, when we're talking to clients and how to implement sort of cloud solutions, this is all like techno speak. How do you host your files? How do you make sure that things operate within your organization? What enterprise resource planning things are you using? And do you want to go to the cloud? And so this is the cloud market share of Amazon, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, IBM, etc. So Oracle's got their own cloud and Alibaba's got their own cloud, but you can see the dark blue there is dominated by who's running the existing applications. So Amazon is taking a huge lead in that market because they started out quite early. And Microsoft is catching up quite quickly. And you see they're the ones that are doing a lot more experimentation because they're late to the game, but they're becoming more user-friendly, and they also have embedded relationships through their Windows products and Office. And if you look at the sort of percentages in growth, this is the top one is the percentage of adoption. Like I said, Amazon has got the lead. But in terms of year-on-year growth, Microsoft Azure is got the highest growth. So yeah, you're seeing them slowly pick up, and potentially, it could be an equal footing. There could be a cloud battle, right? Like a massive one. Even though there is already today, there could be even bigger down the track.
There's one figure that skews that a little bit, which is AWS has more power than all of the other cloud providers together. Like I think it's about 3 times everyone else together, the amount of compute power they've got.
Yeah, that's right. And Microsoft's trying to catch up with that as well. And Google Cloud, I mean, they've designed specific units, like tensor processing units, to accelerate the AI and all that. So they're trying to catch up through another avenue. So have you guys heard of what happened with Google and their new Stadia launch? This is the streaming game service. It's the Netflix of games. And what they demoed yesterday or the day before that, what they were able to do, going from one device, watching a YouTube, and then saying, oh, do you want to play this game right now? So if you're, Ninja or Fortnite, do you want to play Fortnite? And you click start, and you're just streaming a Fortnite game, and you're able to control that character. And then you can move from your laptop then to your phone. Hopefully it's a Google Pixel or something like that. Move it to your phone, and then continue playing that game right where you left off. So, with these streaming services, Google is actually, going to catch up in their cloud compute as well, because they're leveraging all those servers in order to create this new business model that is going to disrupt the Xboxes, which Microsoft owns, and the PlayStations of the world. And Steam as well, because they were #1 in some of the online servers for games. Yeah. What else can Google do with this? So, you think about virtual reality, they've invested heavily in Daydream, their VR platform. And Facebook has the Oculus Rift with Spaces. There's a lot of these open world in virtual reality, social networks in virtual reality. One of them is called High Fidelity. High Fidelity is from the makers of Second Life. Has anyone played Second Life or heard of it before? So it's quite big, was it like the early 20s or something? Like late, we're sharing our age here, right? But the makers of Second Life have converted to High Fidelity. And High Fidelity is kind of like the others with Facebook Spaces and Alt VR and VR Chat. They're relatively open source, but still, you can only get in there if your friends are also using High Fidelity. So what Google might do is say, well, if you're playing a game and we can see what you're doing in that virtual world, in virtual reality, well, you could be training our artificial intelligences. So if you're playing a driving game, like say GTA 5, might be terrible training data, but that could help their future driverless cars way more. Say if they, created some mini games within the game that you had to follow all the street rules, then that would be a way to simulate what it would be like to have an actual driver, as opposed to waiting for an actual driver to take around all those miles. Now they're already doing simulations, millions of simulations based on what they have in the open world. So this is going to be a huge strategic move for Google Stadia. So this is, I think, one of the reasons why they moved in that business. Okay, so let's talk about AI development now. So this is the G Mafia. So we've got Google, Microsoft, right? We've got Amazon, Facebook, IBM, and Apple, right? These are all the people that are leading in AI development. And these guys pretty much, bully around and dominate the world. If you're a startup and you start getting something good with traction, you'll reach a point where they could just buy you out and it'll be an offer too good to, you can't refuse, right? This is what DeepMind has been able to do recently. So this is Alpha Star. You would have heard of AlphaGo and AlphaZero. So it just defeated, you're too young to play StarCraft 2. You're probably waiting on StarCraft 3 or something, right? Ah, yes. Yeah. It's very similar, right? Yeah, so it's like a real-time strategy. So this takes a lot more thinking than, strategy-wise than, say, a Go game. Go, you can just totally have these infinite possibilities. But this one, every few clicks, you can see this is what the mini-map looks like. This is what the neural networks are seeing that's activated as these sort of units are moving around, and they're trying to determine what units to produce, kind of like red alert. You got to produce more soldiers, or do you want to create more workers? Where do you attack? How do you strategize? I mean, this is a lot more complicated than Go, right? Infinitely more. And so what they've been able to do is beat one of the world's leading Protoss and Zoe players, Mana, right? Mana and a few others. So this is what the landscape of AI looks like. Because DeepMind down here, because they're part of Google, Google has their own cloud platform. This is Google Cloud Platform, and they use TensorFlow. Their TensorFlow is that sort of deep learning open source framework. But because if you're a Google Cloud, it's a lot easier to use TensorFlow than all these others. DeepMind also uses TensorFlow, but they add to it another open source library called Sonnet. So these are all sort of academics starting to even narrow the sort of frameworks and tools they use. So it's very closed in terms of if you want to collaborate them, you got to use their framework. Right? Amazon Web Services uses MXNet. It's a lot better to use MXNet. Microsoft Azure, they have the CNTK, the Cognitive Services Toolkit. Facebook's, they also have their own AI lab, and they use PyTorch and Caffe2. So if you're an IBM researcher, you probably use Chainer, right? So how do these guys talk to each other? Even a company named OpenAI, which Elon Musk literally funded with Sam Altman from Y Combinator, that uses OpenAI Gym to train other recurrent neural networks. Just a framework so that you can benchmark your deep learning algorithms and see if you get a good result. So people have to use each other's platforms just to get along and try to figure out how to share knowledge. And there's a whole suite of all these other machine learning tools and frameworks, scikit-learn, MATLab, XGBoost. And if you're a developer, say a .NET developer, it's a lot easier to use MLNet. And if you're a Java developer, then deep learning for Java, deep learning 4J, DL4J. So that's just the landscape of how disorientating and how fractured the entire system is. And that's really dominated by the G Mafia way of things, because they've got the cloud compute and they've got the way to dictate which frameworks are being used. Even though it's open sourced, it's based on what they prefer their data scientists to use. So I'm not even going to get into the different coding languages, because this is a meme that came out like 3 years ago or something like that. If you're a Python developer, you're a tree and you're the ant. If you use Java, you're like Gandalf. If you use C, it's like one ring to rule them all. It's the difficulty levels as well. And C++, you're like Saruman or something like that, right? And one of those guys. Yeah, it's been a long time since I binge watched Lord of the Rings, but he was the bad guy with the white hair. He's the good guy with the white hair. Anyway, so there's a lot of different codes, and depending on what type of developer you are, then that will also influence which machine learning and software frameworks and cloud computing you use. So that's why there is a new...
You missed one. Where's R?
I know. R got cut out. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had R. That's why it's like misaligned. Yeah, R was in there. R goes very well with Python. So what would you call an R?
Hey, what do I call R?
Yeah.
R is Hobbit.
Hobbit? R's the Hobbit. JavaScript.
Well, you've got a couple of them.
Yeah. It's probably one of those other native Hobbits or something like that. Yeah, it's quite open source. It's good. So for interoperability, so for these AI algorithms to be portable and interoperable across different platforms and different technology companies, right? This is what Onyx is trying to do. So Onyx is an open format to represent deep learning models, and that way, if you're developing in, say, one of the MLNet, for example, if you're using AWS, then you can easily convert that using Onyx into, say, TensorFlow or another sort of machine learning library, and that sort of operates across different things. So we're seeing this in cloud, like with Docker and Kubernetes, and so that you don't have these version control issues, but also being interoperable across different cloud. But this is really like a start of what might be a way to resolve the platform wars. Right? This is third parties coming in and trying to solve for a problem that they see existing. And it was adopted by these organizations, so they know there is a problem. Depending on how far they get in terms of competitive edge across each other, they might pull out and say, well, we got something that's good, we don't want to share it with anyone, we can pull out at any time. So, let's talk about Web 3. So, internet before, this is before you were born, right? The internet, when it first came out, the World Wide Web, started as ARPANET, which is, which is like for military research use cases. But then it became like the World Wide Web with Tim Berners-Lee. So this is a guy that said, this is something we should all adopt. And that became Web 1. And you got search engines out of Web 1, things, indexing those websites. Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves. And then Google essentially won that sort of initial war, because Google just was better. And what was the code they got? What was it called?
The code.
Yeah, the Google algorithm. Does anyone rank? No, the rank follow came up with PageRank. PageRank is the one, right? Yeah, and then something came about and made it better.
And they had Yahoo, which is all that. It's like a library doing decimal systems, just categorization.
Yeah, exactly. It was mind blowing at the time, right? So just goes to show. So with Web 2, applications were being built on the internet. So this is where you got your Facebook, your Twitter, your Tumblr services and all that. But computation, you had these servers to help you process, and that became the cloud. You had hosting, web servers to store across things. You had other service layers and storage. But what happened is that Web 3, with distributed ledger technology and the whole sort of Ethereum network and sort of people are understanding what blockchain could potentially do for the internet, the new internet, as Silicon Valley you might have seen. This is what can create these peer-to-peer networks without requiring this centralized way of things. So the tech companies are those sort of central places where all this calculation has been done, all this hosting has been done, and they have all the power. In Web 3, we could move towards more distributed network of doing things, peer-to-peer, distributed systems, using smart contracts, so intelligent apps on their own. And you can have also distributed storage, so no one server will be at risk. Your files won't be at risk because of one server that's gone down. Everyone might have a piece of it. And the apps that come through it, browsers, Chrome, these are all the new apps on the Web 3, right? I'm sure a lot of these have failed already through their ICOs, but this is what they were promising at the time, to replace these Web 2 apps. You can see all that Google Drive and Dropbox can be replaced by storage and IPFS if they still exist, right? And
hey, do you think the next generation of internet, do you think it's going to be built on top of the current one, or do you think we're going to start again? Like, with people like Google owning about 30% of the whole world's fiber capacity, which is, I think, 10 times bigger than the entire current internet.
yeah,
Will they just start again with a new, because we've got internet too in the universities with RNet having I think they've got like 30 gig links to the US at the moment, which is bigger than most Telstras and everything. Do you think we'll start on a new infrastructure, or do you think we'll keep building on top of the crap that we've got?
I think we'll keep building on the crap, and at the same time people will try to start something new. And depending on how good it is, has to be like at least 10x better than what people are used to, and that will cause the actual shift.
Do you think we'll all move?
Yeah. If it really is 10x better, say when cars came out and we had horses, right? And there was a poo problem on the road in London, and people were like, oh no, we got too much crap.
Because it's really an infrastructure thing. Because to plug NBN entails into a new infrastructure. I'm a network architect. I build these things. It's nothing. It's no effort whatsoever. So I'm saying it's actually not that hard
Yeah.
to do that. They're actually an entire global network, bigger than the internet, on Google and Facebook and a few others, that are already sitting there waiting.
Yeah, and you just like need the sort of get an incentive for people to move. That's it. To start using this new one. Like, you know, no one uses the dark web or the deep web. Like I mean as in not everyone uses that because it's like only if you're trying to do some nefarious things, but like it has to be really good, a really good reason for you to move to that.
Well, that's an overlay network.
It's an overlay anyway, yeah. Anyway, so that's Web3, and James Jansen had just sort of done this massive landscape of all those different distributed ledger technologies out there and sort of cryptocurrencies out there, and he tried to map out their pros and cons, what they have and what they don't, to try to advertise this company called X-Credits. But check it out, you know, white paper's on the website, but this is where he thinks he sits. You know, X-Credits has got those proof of work, he's got sharding, he's got like tokenization, sharding, yeah. So this is like, instead of like just having one chain on the blockchain, you have these side chains, and it's sharding like that, and then you're trying to merge those side chains. It gets a bit too technical, right? So, but he solved it, apparently. So if you know what the problem is, try to figure out what he's solving for. So it's all on the website at Xcredit.
He's got the answer, we just don't know.
We just don't know the question. But yeah, like there is a massive ecosystem, a massive landscape of different startups and ICOs that happened in December 17, towards December 17. And now they're just consolidating and figure out what are they trying to solve for. Okay, so now political ideology. This is another sort of current division. Obviously, we've got the trade war between US and China anyway, and Australia is trying to figure out, you know, who they want to play to, or who's our biggest trading partner versus who do we, you know, more aligned to philosophically, ideologically. But you know, this is just still escalating. It's still going. I thought at the time of the writing the article would be done by now, but it's just been deferred. And you can see why. I mean, strategically, the US, you know, has always been the dominant world power, and China at a growth rate that's, you know, maybe 6.5%, which is what they're getting right now. You know, unless they have a really hard landing in the next few years, by 2029 they're going to be equally equal in terms of GDP to GDP. So that's at $25 trillion. And whoops, sorry. And this is where, you know, 2029, if the US are thinking, well, if we're no longer going to be the dominant power, what can we do to, you know, stop that from happening? Well, one, we can have a trade war. We can say, okay, you know, give us better terms, stop stealing our IP, stop, you know, manipulating your currency, doing all those things. But at the same time, you realize that the technologies that are being adopted in Europe and in China and Asia, 5G, that's something that the US have not even caught up with at all. So there's no US company that can compete with the Huaweis of the world. So 5G is actually going to be the next generation of all the telecommunications and technology, talking to technology, and enabling the Web3 to enable those cloud servers that enhance the data storage and also data transfer. So this is why they're trying to push back and trying to slow things down, at least until they figure out a plan. Now, we're going to see these massive divisions because that means that each of those countries will start closing compared to each other. So if, you know, China's already got a pseudo-closed internet, you know, they banned all the sort of words, you know, including, say, if you had a, you know, a picture of Xi Jinping and you had Winnie the Pooh, then that would not be released on the internet. Like, they just did a rules-based keyword search and they can't publish that. And also, what they're doing is, you see what's happening in Russia as well. They're testing what would happen if they turned off the internet, like just closed it to Russia itself. So Vladimir Putin has also recently, you know, censored anyone that sort of talks to him in a poor way. Right? He will fine them a certain amount if they talk poorly.
So it just happened the other day.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all dead for like 12
Oh yeah, that's right. And the US could do that too. Yeah, you see what Ed Stern can do as well. So, but this is what China's doing because they have, you know, the sort of sharing of data between all their top tech companies, the Baidus, the Tencents, the Alibabas, all share the data with the government as a provider, like, you know, as a requirement, and they're able to get a social credit score going.
It's just live.
This is live. Yes, this is a real, but no, it's not live. This is a GIF. This is an image that's playing, but it is happening in real life right now. So if you went to China and you're a Chinese citizen, you could have a social credit score. You start with 1,000, and depending on how good you are of a citizen, you can go up or go down. So if you jaywalk, your WeChat account is connected to your bank, and you automatically receive a penalty, a fine for jaywalking, because the camera has already got everyone's facial recognition, what their score is, and they can just do that straight away. I mean, it's not perfect. Like this, what happened here, there's a bus across the road, and this lady was on the picture of the poster of the bus, so she was jaywalking, and so they fixed it, probably rules-based as well, so that she probably can jaywalk wherever she wants in China right now. So that this is, it's not perfect, but they are getting a lot of data, and with a lot of data and training data, they're going to accelerate all that knowledge. And this is another dystopian view of it. This is an app on WeChat that you can see of all the people around you that are in debt. So they haven't paid off their debt, so you can see if the person next to you is yeah, that one right there. You're in a lot of debtors right there. Stay away from that suburb. And so, I mean, this is sort of, you know, a conundrum, because if you're the US and you're saying, okay, well, all these data breaches and all these privacy laws, we need to make sure that, you know, the individual is not being screwed over, right? Well, blockchain potentially could provide a mechanism to consent to the use of your data, like through protocols such as Tide is an Australian startup that's trying to do that right now. But, you know, if you're not getting the data at the individual level, how do you actually make it, the algorithms, as good as the one in China? Especially if China's got so much training data. So this is the short story Mana that some of you might have heard of. Brendan Clark, from another co-founder here. He gave a talk on Mana, so if you want to check it out, it's on our YouTube channel, Transhumanism Videos. So it's a short story from a futurist and the creator of How Stuff Works. So he's the creator of that website, and he sold it for a good few coins. But in that sort of future, they present two views of what could be a utopia or what could be a dystopia. However, the utopia has also got a little bit of a catch. So this is the philosophy of the utopia. So everyone is equal. Sorry, typo. Everyone is reused. I don't know what that means. I guess they can be you know, do other things. Nothing is anonymous. So that's kind of the catch, because they have a super intelligence that's powering this society. So the super intelligence can stop these crimes from happening. They know what's, you know, what you might want. So okay, well, you know, what's my best course of education that I want? What's the best job that I would have? Who should I be talking to? And sort of it predicts everything about that particular person. So they don't have to do much at all. Just let the AI handle it. But if nothing's if it's that good, well, nothing can be anonymous, because that, you know, would be bad training data. Also, nothing is owned. You got to tell the truth, do no harm, obey the rules, live your life, and better. So that's the innovation part. But that's the short story you might want to check out. It's like presenting that sort of two-sided future of what might happen. And so we come back to this. This is the AI supremacy, right? This is like, you know, China's got that 2030 goal of being the dominant AI superpower of the world. And I guess that's going to create that AI arms race. And they might be the ones that might come up on top if, you know, if nothing else changes, because of the data and the training data and the population side of it, right, as well. And we got all those sort of data sharing tech companies for, as opposed to these guys.
What's going to stop them?
Well, that's what we're here for, right? This is why we're here. What could stop them? So, yeah, so there's examples that I gave around interoperability, open sourcing things, being able to, you know, create Web3 to have peer-to-peer, so remove these artificial barriers between politics, between, you know, operating systems, between tech companies. If we remove those barriers and just have a peer-to-peer network that we have a say in and be able to own, and that's pretty much open to all the others at our level. This is an open source community, yeah. And individuals as well, like opting into those open source solutions. Yeah. But yeah, that could be the solution, but you know, it's like you say, it has to be 10x better, right, at least, to get people to move on. But what if we had brain-computer interfaces, right? So we talked about, I think last time, if we had brain-computer interfaces, does that mean that you won't be able to talk to another person brain to brain because they're using like an Android neural link instead of an iOS one. Will that cause even more language barrier than we're facing today when we go to a foreign country that doesn't speak English? You know, will the fidelity of the translations be as good as, you know, the AI, or is it going to cause misunderstanding and create entirely divisive futures for humanity with these tech platforms? So with that, hopefully you guys enjoy that talk. You're going to read out more. There's 21 lessons for the 21st century from Yuval Noah Harari. So sort of delves into a few more of those issues. But other than that, thank you very much. Thank you very much.